It's what you hearing. It's what you hearing. Listen. It's what you hearing. Listen. It's what you hearing. Listen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door, it's real.
Mr. Cropper here. Why does it do that? Just because I press escape, it turns it back on? I'm going to get that figured out someday, and then I'll seem a little more professional when I do this shit. Okay, we got Cosmic Skeptic talking to Anthony Magnabosco, Street Epistemologist. Anthony Magnabosco has recently in his life discovered the Socratic method, which is asking people to justify their statements. And he's fascinated by it. It's really changed his way of looking at the world. Now, because that's the title of this video, I'm going to let him go ahead and define that so you know what they're here talking about. But then we're going to skip ahead and watch a train wreck happen. And that's really our real interest here.
Most known for your street epistemology, right? That's
pretty much.
That's what you do.
That's sort of my claim.
You're kind of like you seem to be like the face of street epistemology.
I never really set it out to be that. I read a book that told me about street epistemology, and I started going out and having conversations, and then recording them, putting them online, and then a community started forming. Practitioners started forming. We started figuring out ways to do this better, ways to have better conversations where you're using questions to explore sensitive belief claims.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, people listening might not know
That's right.
what it is. So street epistemology, what are we talking about?
It's not the best term to really describe what we're doing, but in a nutshell, it's where...
Now, you just ask people questions, and then they answer, and then you ask them again something else, or repeat it back to them and ask them how they came to that or whatever. Now, like, the reason I say this isn't new, he's just discovering it. Look, a lot of us use this. You know, it's not like a magical way to get around people getting angry. It's not like a magical way to get people to realize that they can change their mind. Sometimes when you use this method of questioning people, they become furious at you. As he says in just a moment, he says, you know, as you're going along, at some point they realize they may be mistaken. And that is exactly the instant when they become furious, not all of them. So I'm just saying it's not a magical method. He thinks it's a magical method. He's just discovered it. Now he's all obsessed with it. But it's just asking people to justify what they're saying and seeing if they have a coherent position or do they just hold a nonsense position. And he's fascinated by the fact that most people hold nonsense positions.
Rather than engaging with somebody where you're arguing, ridiculing, or maybe giving them facts that might close a person down, it's
giving them facts that might close a person down? What kind of person are you talking to?
Them to explain how they arrived at their conclusion, and being patient and listening, repeating it.
See, you ask them how they arrived at their conclusion, and be patient. Well, I mean, if you're an intellectual standing there having a conversation, why do you want to say that? Be patient. Okay, so there you are. You're talking to them, and you're listening. You talk and you listen.
Down. It's asking them to explain how they arrived at their conclusion, and being patient and listening, repeating it back, so you can fully understand what they're saying. Right. And oftentimes
So you can fully understand what they're saying. Now, Socrates did this, and his whole point was that they don't really have a coherent view. You know, the person that he's talking to doesn't really have, not that Socrates himself did, but the point of the Socratic method is just to say, why do you really hold these views? Oh, you just take them for granted. Well, perhaps you should think a little bit more closely about them. It's really a contentless method. And, yeah, we don't need to spend too much time. I'm not fascinated with the method.
Patient and listening, repeating it back, so you can fully understand what they're saying. Right. And oftentimes in the process, if you ever try that approach, you may have, in fact, I'm not sure, what you tend to find is that the person starts to realize that maybe I didn't really think this through.
Now, that's not magical, right? The person realizes maybe I didn't think this through. Or the person realizes, oh, there's some other aspect of it I haven't thought of. They don't always go over easily when you bring that to them. Now, recently in one of my Hangouts, in one of the very last Google Hangouts, before Google did away with Hangouts, I was on there with a young man, 16-year-old, and he said he was in favor of the draft. And I said, we had a draft army in Vietnam, and the generals hated it. They were against the draft because it gave them crappy soldiers who didn't want to be there and didn't believe in the situation. Whereas a volunteer army, every single soldier is chosen to be there and believes in his mission. So the generals, the top brass in the military, despised the draft. So I said that to him, and then he said he'll have to think about that. Now, I said, are you aware of this fact? Now I guess maybe that's a mix between giving these people facts. He says, facts that might shut people down. Well, what kind of person are you talking to? If the only thing you can do with these people is ask them questions and try to trick them into realizing that they haven't thought their question through really, this is not really a very good way to go about your life. All right, so I just want to say, first of all, it's nonsense and garbage. But notwithstanding, we're going to go up to 4143 now. And, oh boy, this is just fun.
With the atheist experience show happening, that we know that is going to happen again, is completely unjustified.
Okay, so things happen all the time. The sun comes up every day. Every day we do this show, the people that were supposed to be here are here. So reality seems to be reliable. So this is going to be Humean skepticism here. David Hume skepticism.
Russell makes a great example of a chick
Bertrand Russell, he said. I'll just let him get the phone.
Happening, that we know that is going to happen again, is completely unjustified. Bertrand Russell makes a great example of a chicken, right? That you're a chicken, and like in a kind of a farm situation, and every single day, the farmer comes to you and brings you your food. But to the chicken, all it's ever known from the farmer is the farmer bringing food. To the chicken, the farmer and the food are probably as inseparable as to us something like dropping a pen and it falling to the floor. Like it's every single time we've dropped any object, it falls to the floor. But for the chicken,
all right. Now, is the farmer bringing food to the chicken, is that comparable to dropping a pen and the pen falls to the floor? No, because one of them is cause and effect, and the other is just coincidence. Now, how would the chicken find out the difference? Well, it would form a hypothesis. It would then try to test that hypothesis. Hypothesis might be sometimes the farmer could come and bring me food, and sometimes he might come but not bring me food. And can we test that? No, the chicken can't come up with that hypothesis. No, it can't test that. No, it can't conceive that. So this is a very, very stupid, bad metaphor. But one day, the farmer comes and does not bring food to the chicken. What does he do? He wrings the chicken's neck. He cuts its head off and he takes it to the wife. She plucks it and cooks it for dinner. Now, how does that fit our analogy or our metaphor with reality? So we're dropping the pen. He gives the example of dropping a pen. And then one day the pen just smacks us in the face. So how is an inductive understanding of cause and effect, gravity, how is that different from simply taking for granted daily events without questioning them or testing them or trying to understand them? What do we learn by that metaphor? Now, it's not his fault, right? He got that from Bertrand Russell. So it's Bertrand Russell's fault, really, that I'm mad at here. So, just to point out nonsense, this is utter garbage. This whole show, everything they're talking about here is you should use questions to get people to question themselves. And that's the whole show. That's really all it is. And then he says, how are we different from a chicken that one day gets its neck wrung and we just haven't had our neck wrung yet? We keep on waking up in the morning and the sun comes up. One day it's not gonna. And then we'll know the true reality. So this is just stupid, lame-brained, eternal skepticism. And street epistemology is what Socrates used to do in ancient Greece. So these guys are neither informed, nor informative, nor creative. And I don't know what else to say. So I guess I'll end it here. Thank you for tuning in. Sometimes I do a little video like this because I'm just watching some video and they do something stupid and I just have to say something about it. And that's what you've seen now, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you appreciate the content that I make, please patronize me. $5 or $10 a month makes me feel less guilty when I do these sort of things and watch these things, and I wouldn't really probably have watched this all the way through, but Cosmic Skeptic is a guy that I'm trying to pick on lately. Or, no, trying to engage. Yes, I want to engage with him.